Dystopian Events Around the World Part 2. Now our closest group to Wasteland Weekend is next door neighbor in Arizona in Uranium Springs. Now Uranium Springs is the name of the location, although the group that puts on the events is called End of Days. The difference between Uranium Springs versus Wasteland Weekend, although both groups own their property, Uranium Springs is actually a permanent encampment. Tribes are able to go and build permanent structures there that they do not need to pack in and pack out. So the location has grown over the years. They normally have one big annual event called Detonation each year, and then some smaller events where people are invited to come to the space. Now, this is a much smaller event, but it has a lot of crossover with Wasteland the Weekend because it's so close by in location. A lot of the same people will attend both events. Karaoke bar The Rec Room has a presence in both places, and it can generally be considered a more intimate version of Wasteland Weekend, with a lot of the same elements. Although it does see somewhere in the neighborhood between 500 and 1,000 attendees, I don't have an exact number, it's still fairly sizable. But most of the performances are put on by the actual attendees. There's not really a lot of official entertainment in the same way. So it's a more close-knit group of people putting on shows for a group of friends. Since it takes place in Arizona, however, that does mean that they have things like a shooting range here. This one is also fully immersive and themed, so they do have costume requirements. They're a little bit less strict in rules in some ways and stricter in others. Detonation generally happens around the same time each year. This one is more at the whim of the organizers. Sometimes they will do a pop-up event throughout the year. I haven't gotten a chance to make it out to this event yet. It's been on my list for forever. There's obviously a lot of comparisons that fly around when events are in a similar theme. Some people equate Wasteland to the early days of Burning Man, both in size and vibe, and a lot of people equate Detonation to the early days of Wasteland, when it was a much smaller and more intimate event. Now, there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 15 distinct groups and events in the United States alone, and there's a lot worldwide as well. Post-Apocalyptica has a big following in Japan, Germany, Poland, Australia, and the UK. And that's not even to get into the cyberpunk events. There's not as many cyberpunk events as there is post-apocalyptic just yet, but these are just starting to come into play, and I'm really excited about that. So we're going to get into those too.